Welcome to another day in the life of Alyssa's journey with cancer. Just wanted to touch base with everybody who's following along and let you know how I'm doing. And just thank you again for continued prayers and letting you know that tomorrow on Good Friday is a big day for me. I have my CT scan in follow-up of my last 3 weeks of chemo. They are doing a neck, chest, abdomen, and pelvic CT tomorrow to see what the cancer is doing. And my CA-125 level, as you may know already, dropped down below normal last cycle. So this time tomorrow, I am praying so hard, and I know a lot of you are praying along with me, that the CT scan shows absolutely no sign of cancer. So we are believing big and praying that this is going to be a normal scan, that when they compare it to the ones that I've had already that showed the lymph nodes and showed the cancer, that it's not going to show any residual signs of any cancer at all. So that is what we are praying for tomorrow, and believing that tomorrow is going to be a great day, not just a good Friday, but it's going to be a great Friday. So thank you for that. Still having minimal side effects, a little more fatigued this cycle, and I noticed a few days ago that my eyebrows and eyelashes are starting to fall out. So, but other than that, I'm hanging in there. I'm doing well. But my main purpose in all of this is to share with you what God is doing in my life and to lead you all closer to Jesus. Because that's what he is doing with me through this. And I had just a beautiful time with the Lord this morning that I want to share with you. Interestingly, so I had this dream last night that my life was normal and everything was great, and it was just normal. And so when I woke up, I've had this before in my life, and another time of grief, that when I woke up and you start coming to and you are aware and reminded that your worst nightmares come true, that this is not the normal life that you wanted, and that God has given you something else, something different, something to grieve over. And I had a hard time this morning. I felt sad and I felt grief, and I was faithful though, and I got up and I went to my chair and I spent time with the Lord. And as he promises and as he is so faithful to me, he showed me in his word who he is, and that is what I need during this time. And I want to share that with you. I opened to Psalm 77, and this is by Asaph, and I don't know who that is, to be quite honest, but he parallels David so often and just his crying out to the Lord. And so he starts with saying, I cried out to God for help. I cried out to God to hear me. When I was in distress, I sought the Lord. At night, I stretched out untiring hands, and I would not be comforted. And so it's this vision of just, there's so much grief at night, especially, and in the morning. And it was dark out this morning, and I resonated with that. But the next part of it says this, and he says, I remembered you, God, and I groaned. I meditated and my spirit grew faint. You kept my eyes from closing. I was too troubled to speak. I've had a lot of times where my eyes are not closing at night and I'm not sleeping well. I thought about the former days, the years of long ago. I remembered my songs in the night. My heart meditated and my spirit asked. And so in that time, my dream was just about my past. It was about living my life in the past and all the beautiful things that have happened. And it was so perfect because I was thinking about former days. I was wishing that I didn't have to go through this. And I was wishing that it was still just all those days. The other day, it was my son's adoption day, and we pulled up the computer. We were just looking at all of the pictures of the past, of just this beautiful life that we have built, and the children when they were little. And I saw myself, and there is times when I wish that I could go backwards. Like, I wish there was something. It's almost like my brain tries to figure out a way to change this. Like, I want to make it different somehow. And that if I could do something different, or if I could figure something else out in my brain, that the outcome would be different. And the reality is that this is the lot that the Lord has for me. And as I've been reading through with my children the account of Jesus' death and resurrection, that Jesus is in the garden and he is crying out to the Lord and he is praying and he asks for God to take this cup from him. But God doesn't, of course. But the most important thing in that is he said, "Yet not my will, but yours be done." And that even Jesus knew it was before him and was grieved and was sorrowful. And he asked for a different cup, but God said no. And that's what he is saying to me. He says, no, this is where I have you. This is the path, the journey that I have for your life. And so even Asaph in this psalm is lamenting, but he remembers God. He's not forgetting God. He's crying out to him, right? He's in distress. And then he starts having doubt. He remembers God, but then he starts having these doubts in his mind. And he says, will the Lord reject forever? Will he never show his favor again? Has his unfailing love vanished forever? Has his promise failed for all time? Has God forgotten to be merciful? Has he in his anger withheld his compassion? And I have these same questions. I question lots of questions. I doubt so much. I have so much fear sometimes. And I'm reminded that it's okay. That it's okay to have these doubts and these fears. But what so often I do is they're silent. They're in my head. And instead of crying out to the Lord with them, I let Satan use them to make me sad and to bring me down. But what Asaph reminds me is that open my mouth, open my prayer time with these doubts and take them to the Lord. He's big enough to handle them. But the next part, it says this. He's sharing with God his doubt, but it says, then I thought, to this I will appeal, the years when the Most High stretched out his right hand. I will remember the deeds of the Lord. He starts looking back on what God has done in his life, and he starts remembering God's faithfulness and that God is trustworthy. He says, yes, I will remember your miracles of long ago. And this is my life. This is exactly what I needed to hear this morning. I will consider all your works and meditate on all your mighty deeds. He reminded me that I need to remember what God has done in my life. God has done so many miracles in our lives, and it needs to be another video, but just how he gave us our children, how how he's miraculously cured me in the past from an illness, and how he delivered Cruz to us. There's so many miracles of how God has his hand upon my life and our life. And I sat down and I wrote them out, and I remembered that God has been faithful to me. And then it flips over and it says, your ways, God, are holy. What God is as great as our God? And I'm reminded that even in this, that God is still great. He's still a huge God. He's a big God. And he is a God of miracles. The next verse says, you are the God who performs miracles. And I just had tears this morning because I cried out to him. I was pouring out my doubts and my fears of tomorrow, my fears of just my life. And he reminded me to look back on his faithfulness. And this verse 14 says, you are the God who performs miracles. That he does, that tomorrow on my CT scan, it will be a miracle. He says, you display your power among the peoples. With your mighty arm, you redeemed your people, the descendants of Jacob and Joseph. And those are my words I keep saying. I feel like God is redeeming this, that slowly he is redeeming this. But it isn't just he's redeemed it and it's done. This is going to be a perpetual redeeming. This is going to be a perpetual journey for me. And the one that doesn't just start and finish, but it's this up and down, this continual struggle. And God reminded me of the wrestling that Jacob had with God, that it's okay to wrestle with these thoughts and with these ideas and with my life back and forth until I keep getting to that point of praising God, that I don't stop with the wrestling. I don't stop with the doubts, that I keep going until I wrestle through it to this place of surrender, this place of submission that says, I'm not in control. I don't have control over this. This is not for me to figure out or to come up with an answer to. This is for God to keep drawing me closer and closer to him. And lastly, he just says the waters, he starts recounting about who God is. The waters saw you, God. The waters saw you and writhed. The very depths were convulsed. He's talking about parting the Red Sea. He's remembering. The clouds poured down water. The heavens resounded with thunder. Your arrows flashed back and forth. Your thunder was heard in the whirlwind. Your lightning lit up the world. The earth trembled and quaked. Your path led through the sea. Your way through the mighty waters. Through your footprint, though your footprints were not seen. In the beginning of his psalm, it starts off with, I cried. I was in distress. I sought the Lord. I was not comforted. I remembered. I thought about the old days. And then at the end, though, he reminds himself, he reminds me that what starts out selfishly, what starts out what I want, it ends with focusing on you, God, your arrows, your thunder, your lightning, your path, your way. It's all about God. It's all about you, God. And that's what I need to do. I need to remember that it is about you, God. So, and the very end verse says, you led your people like a flock by the hand of Moses and Aaron. And I am reminded that I am the Lord's, your people, that I am created by you, God, and I'm created for you, God, that everything in my life is not mine, that he is in control of me and he's in control of my life. He's in control of every single thing that happens. And it was this freedom that I had this morning to just release again. I don't know why I ever thought submission and surrender was just a, one-time thing or even just a few times. It's a daily thing. That again, he reminded me that to surrender my will to him, that I am his and he loves me and he has a plan for my life. He just reminds me that he is faithful. He is faithful. And even though I struggle days, and even though I am unsure of the future, I am sure of God's faithfulness. And I am sure that he loves me, and I'm sure that he is doing a miracle in me. I see it. I see what's happening, and my prayer specifically is for a miracle in my life, a complete healing, so that I can tell others, I can share with you his power, his resurrection power, especially this weekend. That we don't just celebrate Easter, as a family event, as events or meals that we can have together, but we celebrate the fact that Jesus rose from the dead, that he is not dead, that he is alive in each and every one of us. He was resurrected from the dead, and that's what he's doing in our lives. He is resurrecting our lives from what we think we want to what he wants for us in our life. So thank you so much for what you're doing, for your prayers. And I am excited to share tomorrow afternoon what my CT scan results will be. I am believing in a miracle and believing that God is healing me and that he has more life for me to live. So thank you and have a super wonderful and happy Easter. And I will be back tomorrow. Thanks.